All right, GM. That's the old swing trade from yesterday. So I need a fresh chart. And I want to use volume analysis. So I'm going to add another Bitcoin. Let's add OKX. Divided by 5. Get the volume. Yeah, interesting. Here's the old Wyckoff distribution. So, buying climax AR, ST, upthrust, show weakness, last point of supply, show weakness, last point of supply. This would have been the expected move, or consolidation before that move, or possibly this could be it, but you need to see a lot of weakness for that to be confirmed. It's really clinging on. You can argue this isn't fully bullish yet, but bears are really running out of arguments. For Bitcoin to fall back into what could be considered a distribution, I would say it has to break that low, bounce into a lower high, and from there, you're looking at lower, right? So that's the kind of move you don't want to see on Bitcoin, of swift reversal followed by a failed test. But yeah, bearish arguments are really running out of steam right now. So let's inverse the chart first of all. Remember what I was saying? If you're ever feeling like you need a different perspective, inverse the chart. Because what is this now? This is now a failed attempt to rally, if you're calling it this way. You have a bottom, you have a failure to return. That's bullish, right? You would expect price to go, boom, reversal. And it comes up, it sets a higher low, it tries to break out, fails to break out, comes back inside, and is now drifting back towards that level. It's right at the level. But the absolute last point where it could remain somehow bullish would be to stay like that and then continue, which of course, when you inverse it, would be bearish. So again, outside of a pretty swift rejection, Bitcoin's going higher, in my opinion. Now, let's zoom in a little bit. And I want to look at some of these breakdown levels and see where most people have been getting wrecked. Right, so from the top to the bottom of this collapse, the volume distribution is right here. See that? So as I zoom it, from the top, in the 12th of April, Friday morning, we then went into the New York session, and there was strong selling throughout the New York session. We then consolidated going into Saturday, and there was a second strong wave down. So this whole collapse completely caught the market off guard. That's an important area to watch, because for me, when you're watching markets flip from bullish to bearish, that's an important thing to watch. Oh, I can't use bar replay. But anyway, let's go to the daily. Let's put on the bands and let's look at this. So what you can see here is up until the 11th. I'm gonna do a bar replay just to make it clearer. Right, up until the 11th, Bitcoin was bullish. Right. So if you're looking at it over here, all the way up here, Bitcoin was fine. It was in a bullish pennant. It was consolidating below the highs. It looked like, to all degrees, it was going to be able to push higher and break out, right? So that's how it was looking on Tuesday, just before the collapse. Then we had weakness and a sell-off. That's why I've zoomed into this area, because it's an important area. For Friday and Saturday, shifted the structure, took the market undeniably from bullish to bearish on the low time frames and even some of the medium time frames. Plus, a lot of people got caught off guard. So where did they get most caught off guard? Here, point of control. And then I'm going to look at the full not the full distribution because it goes all the way down. We're looking at this cluster, right, which also aligns with one of the order blocks. But there's a strong cluster of supply in that area there, right? Out of this decline, most people got offside in this area. It was a relatively low level of volume on the way down. There was a nice cluster here as people started to bet, right? So anyone who got long here was wrong. Came up, rejected off it, came up, rejected off it. Talked about this in daily levels, reject. We're now no longer rejecting, we're trading into it and trading through it. That's a sign of strength. And even if it's not a sign of strength right away for Bitcoin, like up only, pulling back, it's definitely a sign that that supply is weak, right? Every time we've pushed into this area, it's either been barely a wick over here, straight rejection. it's been wicks only, can't trade into it, can't close candles in it, or an instant rejection here, and now boom, we're spending 3 days trading easily within it. So of course, that means this level needs to hold, because if Bitcoin goes down, comes back, fails it, well, that remains strong resistance and we probably go lower. But assuming that doesn't happen, I think Bitcoin just needs to make a new high, like basically just needs to get above 67.7. And from there, we're looking at 69 to 70. Anywhere in the 69 to 70 area. And I think Bitcoin moves there pretty fast. There's a big gap. You can see it here from the breakdown. There's a huge gap in volume. There's a huge gap on the chart. And until it retests this cluster, which again is at around 70k, I think Bitcoin will move pretty easily into that area once it breaks where that solid red line is. So how would that look in terms of lower time frame trade setups? Well, you know I'm already long. I'm long, but as a swing trade. And I want to add a lower time frame long as well. All I would like to see, we tried it yesterday. There was a little dip down, took out some stops, came back inside. That might be all we get. I'm aware of that. It might be all we get. But I'm keeping my eye on this 50 EMA. I think the way Bitcoin's clustering at the moment, it's going to be building up stops on both sides. And if we get a quick sweep down here and a reclaim, I think that's going to set up the move. And once that level breaks, I think it's swiftly up to 69. It might not hit 70 right away. It might fall short of 70 and sell off initially and then go back for more consolidation. But the trade itself, for me, if I'm going to add the trade, I do need to see the trigger of the 50 EMA getting hit. And that might be because it keeps rising and we just kind of fall into it. But I would like to see it tested before I would take a long. Getting long right now here, you have to use a very wide stop. The stop would have to go below that wick. And then your target is kind of your 69. It's not bad, it's 2.2. But it's also, to me at least, and for my system, it's not a great setup. Not from here. Where I could, and where I will, where I could absolutely get long would be on a confirmed breakout, right? A BOS above this level. We'll take this most recent one, which we set this morning. Right? That's your current swing high. That's the highest 1 hour close that we've had. If we saw a strong impulsive breakout, then I would trade continuation towards the green zone. For that to happen, I would like to see a gap through this area to about 67.8, sorry. And then my trade would begin somewhere up here. It would be a continuation trade somewhere in that area on lower time frames. You'd be looking to wait for a consolidation to form and then trade it into this area here, right? That would have to see, again, you'd have to see an impulsive candle with volume, one of those candles that doesn't see a retracement right away. You're looking at something like this, right? You're looking at a candle like that to form where it breaks cleanly from the consolidation and then you go in your lower time frames and you enter. If you see this over here, this is from the 15th of May. The way I like to enter these is if you see like a 1 hour breakout, you're looking at a 10 or a 15 minute chart for your entry. So if you go back to the 15th of May at 12 o'clock, 15 minute chart probably has an entry there. 15th of May, 12 o'clock. Didn't actually get any bands retests. So you'd be looking at the 10 minute, the 15th of May, same one. And well, actually, can't win them all, can you? So wouldn't have got an entry there. I used the retest of the bands for the entries, but that was a particularly strong move. I would expect that if, let me draw this up. I would expect that if we get a breakout here, where it breaks through the gap, right? Let me take off all this. If it breaks through there and closes strongly above 67.8, remember that resistance. The idea of this trade, this lower time frame trade, the idea is if this zone gets cleared, it's going to move quickly to 69.70. So you don't need to trade in the zone. Remember, the zone is resistance until it isn't. I would trade in the zone if we see an attempt to go lower that fails. That offers you a good setup. Otherwise, just trade the breakout and trade the momentum. And so what I'd be looking for there is a 1 hour gap up and then going on to your lower time frames and looking at the 15-minute bands essentially to follow, right? So you'd have an impulsive move up, which we can draw up here, and then you'd be looking for price to consolidate and push again. And the way the bands would look in this example would be the bands would be here and here and here, and it wouldn't touch them, wouldn't touch them, wouldn't touch them, and then it would come and touch them. And that would be how you'd look at it. So let me put this in green. I know it's a bit messy, but you see the bands like that, and that would be the area to get in. So you want to see the strong impulse that produces a break of structure on the 1 hour chart. Some consolidation, it falls back, it holds the 15-minute bands. That's your entry. Your invalidation is below, your target is above. That's exactly how I'll trade it if the setup comes. If that setup came like that, you're looking at something like this, let it hit the bands, start to move up. Stop loss initially below the bands, not just right at the wick, you get caught out in a wick. Target initially at about 69, and then manage the trade from there. Obviously you can move your stop up, you can compound it, you can trade this on towards 70. I would probably exit most of my trade well below 70, as I think 70 is the most logical place to have strong spot resistance again. And 69k is the old 2021 bull market high, so there could be resistance there. So simple setup for Bitcoin if it's able to clear this 67, this last block of resistance in the red zone. That's it. GM. See you all later.